Listen to the radio, Harry and Edna's Wireless Show. You heard it from the Three Bells.
Whatto, Harry?
Whatto, Edna, and welcome to Harry and Edna on the Wireless, recorded at the 1940s event at the Isle of Wight Steam Railway.
What ho?
So my name's Alan Norman. I'm one of the committee members who puts on the 1940s experience at the Haven Street Steam Railway on the Isle of Wight. Well, we're all official volunteers of the railway. There are set committees that put on different shows throughout the year at the railway, but this is a specific committee group of people that put on this event solely.
I mean, this event's been running for a number of years, and Edna and I have been very fortunate to come here. And every year it does change and develop.
Well, I visit other shows throughout the UK, but it's really what I would like to see if I was to come to a 1940s experience. And one of the things I try to achieve here is that you touch, you taste, you feel, and you go away with an experience of the show.
That's it, because I think we should explain, although this is based at a steam railway, the event itself, although it has obviously a great element of steam, there's agricultural machinery here, there's vintage cars. This isn't just purely steam.
No, you'd have seen in the reason why we have the agricultural scene here is that it was quite prevalent in World War II. The nation relied on farmers producing food, and you would have seen threshing machines in the countryside working alongside steam engines, the various farming equipment, as tractors, and this year we've actually got something that's really, really unique. Most people who've come to the show over the weekend have never seen it before. I've never seen one before, and it's a baler, and Glenn Draper, who's kind of the team leader of the agricultural display, restored that over the winter, and we believe it may be the only one working in the UK. Well, we continue with the agricultural display. Glenn, who's a farmer, actually grows a field of wheat and stores it for us, just so that demonstration is a real living history demonstration that has a product at the end of it. Next year, I'm already thinking about fine-tuning the way we've had it laid out this year. The success of the show has been the street with a stage at the end and with the backdrop of the bus, and it kind of keeps everyone a feeling that they're actually in a street. So we were looking for more sort of building dioramas. We're thinking about building a pub. Over the winter we built W.H. Smith's, which is in the station yard, and that's been received with great accolade. In fact, the guys that go around and give out various prizes want to actually give us a prize for it, so we kind of declined because we build the exhibits to address the station. So really, reenactors we always love to see and come in costume, but it's the street dressing that we would like to promote.
What ho?
Now, at the end of the street, we've got a beautiful double-decker bus and a stage in front of that one. So how much has music been an element of the 1940s experience here at Haven Street?
We've been using the singers. We had the Spitfire girls for a couple of years, and we now currently have the Three Bells who are performing. They've appeared at the Isle of Wight Festival this year, which is lovely, and also last year. But we were kind of looking at the ends of stage type of performance which they'd have had of any gathering of a huge amount of concentration of troops. We've used the backdrop because in previous years what we've found is that if we put the girls in a tent or any performer in a tent, it's limited the space that people can see them perform. So I was keen to have a stage this year with a bit of a canopy just in case the weather was inclement, and we put some seating out there so people can sit there and enjoy the performance. Also we have in the Spitfire bar, we've laid a dance floor, and we've got a couple of performers that are teaching the rudimentary steps of dance, so they're encouraging the visitors to join in. Whilst they're sitting there doing that, they can have a piece of tea and cake, and then hopefully they would go away and go, well, we come to that show and we've actually learned a few little dance steps, and it may encourage them because Gary Tewksbury over here, who runs a Lindy Hop dance group in Ryde is running dance workshops in September in Ryde. So we were hoping that we maybe even get a few people signed up to learn to Lindy Hop.
What will the date? How will you know when the date will be?
We always plan on the first full weekend in July. We used to do the first weekend, and that used to kind of overlap with June, July. So we decided that the first full weekend in July is always the 1940s experience. Now, if you go on the website for Isle of Wight Steam Railway and click on special events, if you want to come to the show, it's www.isleofwightsteamrailway.co.uk.
What ho!
Hi, I'm Charlotte White from Restoration Cake. I've come down to the Haven Street 1940s weekend on a professional capacity. I'm eating my way around the festival, trying out shortbread and fudge and sampling a glass of wine. We're having a lovely day.
What ho!
Hello folks, it's Ricky Hunter, and you all know me as the singer and trumpeter, and I'm here at Haven Street entertaining this weekend.
And what brings you down so far away from from another country? Because I hear you've now moved. You're now in Wales.
Yeah, I'm now back in sunny South Wales, and 3 years ago I came over to the island to perform, and they invited me back.
And you've not just been performing your sets. Did you do the closing ceremony?
I did. I got to do the last post yesterday, and I'm doing it again this afternoon, which will be great fun.
And it is incredibly warm this round, and yet you seem to be always in your rather fine suit.
I am boiling. As well as doing this, they actually had me as Captain America yesterday, and that was a sight after 20 minutes, kind of looking rather faint. But it's glorious sunshine, and I'm baking with a nice cup of tea in my hand, actually. So,
a cup of tea that came from the Naffy wagon, no less. So, how do you get hold of these what do you call it, refreshments?
Well, I'm quite cheeky as an entertainer. I asked for a cup, and lo and behold, one appeared.
What ho!
At the Haven Street 1940s event on the Isle of Wight, there is actually a mock high street, and down this high street I've met a fine gentleman dressed stunningly in a dark navy blue, called Barry. Now, are you an admiral at all?
No, I'm the local air raid warden.
Right, so you're dressed head to toe in blue and you have CD written on it and warden on the side. So what's all this about?
Well, this is the uniform of the Civil Defence Warden, and it derives from the old ARP, which can be traced back as far as the First World War, when the Germans come over with their Zeppelins, and they bombed Kent and London. So as far back as there, that's where it started. And the ARP, air raid precautions, before the war started in about 1936. The government decided to get together the Home Office and set up the air raid precautions in readiness for war. And then things started getting a bit hairy.
So we're down a mock street here, and we've got, I think we've got a butcher's, a police station, there's even a cockerel on the roof. But we have a building here with your local warden's post, which I'm assuming you've created here with a number of artefacts. But what would a warden's post be doing down a high street?
Well, the warden's post was set roughly every half mile apart, depending on the area that you lived in. And the wardens would report any bomb damage. They would enforce the blackout regulations. And the bits and pieces that I have here are part of a collection that I've been making up over the last 4 or 5 years. And I built the post from polystyrene and wood, just to make it look like an authentic warden's post. It's a standard design which was slightly adapted. Some were made of concrete, some were made of brick, and it was just where the wardens could carry out their reports and enforce the blackout regulations.
So if I describe your post, to the eye it looks like a rectangle brick building with a concrete roof, but you're saying it's all deceiving. This is all polystyrene and almost like a stage set, is it?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It was built in my dining room my wife was not happy at the time, but it's been great fun building, and it's great to take to shows to show people what a post was actually like, because a lot of them are hidden or been pulled down, or things have grown up around them, so you don't see them out in the open so much.
I'm actually slightly in awe that your dining room is this big, because this post, I mean, you probably know the dimensions better than me. What is it? Is it sort of, 10 foot by, I'm guessing, 4 foot or something like that?
Yes, it's 12 foot by 4 foot, and it all comes apart and folds down into about 4 foot by 3 foot sections.
Right, and then inside the post we've got a field telephone, we've got a whole variety of paperwork and a variety of different gas masks. Do you know why there'll be so many different types?
Yeah, they start off from the baby gas mask, or the baby bag as it was called, and that was obviously for babies. When they outgrew that, they then went on to the Mickey Mouse mask, which is the blue and red coloured mask. Then they outgrew that mask and moved on to the civilian respirator or gas mask. And the other ones I've got is a civilian duty respirator and the military style respirator.
And I also see you have a bicycle, so is this the main mode for Warden?
Yes, it's the wardens would, if they couldn't get through in cars, they'd either go themselves or send a messenger, depending how many wardens they have on the post, and that's how they would tell the rescue parties if there was bomb damage that where the people would be in the house, because they would have the household register that would have that information.
So we're talking a day then before sort of mobile phones or even powerful sort of walkie-talkies. It was relying on people to get on the bike and literally word of mouth send a message across.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it was mainly younger boys as well, in their teens, that would do the messenger service. So they were out when bombs were dropping. So
excellent. So where did all these wonderful artefacts come from? Because this is your own personal collection?
It's part of my collection. I've got a bigger collection, but unfortunately I couldn't bring it all out because there's not enough space. But a lot of it is bits I've collected from shops, eBay of course, other bits and pieces I've made, incendiary bombs, and I've got a big medical supplies box with all genuine parts in it, and it's not packed out. They do actually go to the bottom of the crate I made, and really try to, if I can't buy it or it's not available, I enjoy making copies to the best of my ability to look like the real thing.
We have certain artefacts all out on display here, but we certainly don't have a protective rope around here, and there's a lot of valuable items here. So is this how you like to display your collection?
Yeah, I hate things behind glass and ropes. The items here are history, and they're there to be touched and used. The stirrup pumps all work, and if anybody wants to ring the bell, the gas rattle, it's all here to be touched. They can pick up the items and feel what history is. I think it's a shame behind bars, so that's what I like.
What I also like is the fact the tea is steaming. Is that essential then for being a warden?
It's essential a good wife.
What ho? Hi, we're the Three Bells, and we're here at the Isle of Wight Steam Railway 1940s weekend with Harry and Edna on the wireless. Whee! What ho?
And I'm with Linda Montgomery, who's got the interesting title of Chief Interpreter. What does that mean?
Well, everyone thinks I need to speak 3 languages at least, but it actually means head guide.
And this shed looks terrifically new. How long has it been here?
Well, we put the building up about 18 months ago, and we fitted it out with the interpretation in March, and we opened in April.
People coming along?
Yes, we've had loads of people. The opening day was our busiest until the Easter holidays, and we've been averaging 600 people a day in the holidays, and about 300 every other day. Well, we're trying to build up our coach drivers to allow more time here so that people have got time to come up, but our percentage is to get more than 50% of people that visit the Isle of Wight Steam Railway up here, and at the moment it's running about 60-70%, so we're really pleased.
It's a huge, massive kind of modern building with beautiful trains in, and I noticed you've got a lot of interactive displays for the children as well, which is lovely. Has that gone down well?
Yes, we find that families go round once and then straight back up the stairs to the interactive gallery, and sometimes they have to be dragged away screaming and kicking.
And I'm guessing this cost an awful lot of money. Where did the funding come from?
We had a 1.2 million grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund, and I think we had to put about 700,000 in from the railway, so it's a big undertaking.
Concept here is you've got some unrestored trains and restored trains, is that right?
Yeah, we've got 4 themes that go through the exhibition, really. We've got the restoration aspect and how people volunteer to do that restoration. So here we've got unrestored and restored. And next week we're going to be shunting in some grounded bodies of carriages which are ready for restoration, and so people will be able to see those before they're married up with their new undercarriage.
They are actually working trains.
Yes, virtually everything in this platform shed is running stock. So when we need it, it's out on the rails.
And you've also got, obviously, the unrestored ones. That's just to kind of show a contrast between the two.
Yes, it is. And it also allows us to keep all our rolling stock in undercover in the winter, which cuts down our maintenance costs and means the restoration can go ahead at a faster rate.
Have you still, I'm assuming, have you still got engines and things that can't stay inside? Are there stuff outside and under tarpaulins and things? I know that used to be the case, but...
Yeah, we're hoping to get all our wooden-bodied carriage stock under cover in the winter.
What ho?
Well, I am actually a train driver on our network of the railways, but to come and work here, you don't have to be a train driver. You can be anything you like. You come in and you start as a cleaner, cleaning the engines, learning about the engines, how they work. Then you come out learning to be a fireman, shoveling the coal in, managing the water. Then you become a driver. The training course is quite simple. You get on there and someone shows you how to drive it, and then you have a go at driving it.
So is that how it would have happened historically? You wouldn't have just been elevated to the position of train driver. Did you have to work your way up through the systems back then as well?
Oh yes, it was a very, very long promotion period. It could take 20, 25 years before you were a driver. And then when you get to what they call the top link driver, which is a real premium driver driving the fast trains that your listeners may have heard of, like the Flying Scotsman and Mallard and things like that, you were probably getting towards the end of your career by then.
So did you start, when you sort of qualified as a train driver, was there a difference between those that use the shunting engines to those that use, pulled passenger trains? Was there a difference in the sort of level of driving that you could do?
Oh, in the original days, in the old days, you would start as a fireman, and then you'd be taught to drive, and then you would end up shunting in the yard. Then you'd go on local passenger work, then you'd go on local freight work, perhaps a little bit of high-speed passenger work, and then eventually you'd be on the Star Express turns.
So in those days, was it a really well-paid job by the time you actually got up to engine driver?
For the time, it was probably quite a well-paid job, but in those days, drivers were pillars of the society. They were also elected as mayors, MPs, Justice of the Peace, and things like that. There was quite a lot of kudos being a driver, and you could use that to your advantage if you wanted to.
So was it a case of you literally drove trains until you physically, was there a retirement age, or at what position did you, or what point did you then stop driving?
Well, if your health allowed you to drive, you would carry on until you were 65, and then on the day you were 65, you'd say goodbye to all those people you may have known since you were 15.
Wow. And can you just very quickly tell us a little bit about the engine that you're driving on the steam railway line today?
Well, this is my favourite engine. It's a Terrier class. It's built by the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway in 1878. It was built for the North London lines to go out North London, and originally they were all named after places in the North London, and this one's original name was Newington, after Stoke Newington in London. So it then had a very checkered life. It came to the Isle of Wight as Freshwater, Yarmouth and Newport number 8. Oh, there's a train just coming through. Then it went back to the mainland and worked at Leon Solent and places like that. And then it came back to the Isle of Wight, back to the mainland and worked on the Hayling branch. And then when it finished on the Hayling branch, it became the biggest pub sign in the world, outside a pub.
I understand. Yes, Liz was just telling me that it then, because I was asking how on earth it then made its way from a pub sort of display to going back into working service, because I'm assuming it needed a bit of work doing to it before it came back into service.
Yes, it does need it needed a lot of work. It's had 2 major overhauls since it's been here, and now it's getting towards the end of its life for this time round, so it needs a 3rd overhaul.
So what happens with an overhaul? Does it get stripped down and bits replaced, or do you have to sort of give it like an MOT for trains, I guess?
Well, it'll be taken, probably this time will be taken completely to pieces. We know that the boiler, which is the heart of the locomotive, is in fairly good condition, but all the motion inside the pistons, the cylinders, and all that will all be taken out. It needs some welding doing to the floor, and then it will all be put back together again and return to steam.
How long does that process normally take?
It depends how many volunteers we have. It can take anything between 2 and 11 years.
Wow, and I'm assuming there's an enormous cost to this as well.
Absolutely, massive cost. I wouldn't even hesitate how much it would cost. But we must remember these are Victorian engineering. The engineering is all in simple terms, and you just can't go and buy the parts off the shelf.
So they literally have to be manufactured made to order almost, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah, we have to order the parts or we can make them here. In fact, we've got 2 of these particular engines, exactly the same, and the parts are not interchangeable from one to the other.
Oh, really?
In those days, when the Victorians built them, they would measure out where they wanted the holes on that engine and make the part to fit that. And then on the next one, they'd measure it out again, and it'd be different.
So have you got engines here in the sheds that are going under restoration at the moment and will come into service soon?
Oh yes, yeah, they're over in the shed over there that we can see from where we're standing.
Yep.
There's the black one this side is our newest acquisition. The one furthest away that we can see, the small one, that's the same as this one. And then there's a bigger one inside which is being worked on now.
So when this then goes out of service, will one of those be replacing it, or do you just sort of run a service where you don't have quite as many engines going up and down the line?
I think this one will stay in when those 2 come out, so we will be in a luxury position of having perhaps 5 or 6 locos.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, and it's been fascinating learning all about the engine. So I better let you get back on the train and stick to the timetable. Thank you.
What ho?
We started in 1971 when steam finished on the Isle of Wight. The last remaining engines and few carriages went to Newport. In 1971 we were given a week to get the stock and the engines out of Newport to bring to Haven Street. So on the 21st of January we brought it through to Haven Street. We still have the same engine that we used on that day, which was W24 Calbourne, which is 121 years old and still in operational service.
Brilliant. And so has the railway, how did the railway get saved? Because was this one of the railways that was shut down by beaching originally, or has it somehow survived since 1971 as a public visitor attraction?
Since 1971 we've just been a heritage railway and tourist attraction. When we started we went just a mile back up towards Wootton as far as Woodhouse Crossing, and then later on we managed to get into Wootton Station, and then in 1991 we extended the line as far as Smallbrook, which gives us a 5-mile length of track.
And how has this railway lasted for so long? Because has there been times when it's been a little bit tough, when it hasn't been quite the major heritage attraction you need it to be to survive?
We've operated with volunteers for most of the 41 years. In the mid-80s we took on some paid staff to keep the railway running more during the week when volunteers weren't available. So we just continue to build, and any money we make we invest back into the heritage of the railway and are planning for the future and creating more things here.
So is this one of the main attractions on the Isle of Wight?
I think so, but then I might be a bit biased.
And do you, I mean, I know people love to come and see the steam railway in operation, and they just love being able to get on a steam train and hear the sounds and smell the smoky smell, but I guess that's not always enough to pull visitors in. You do some extra special events throughout the year as well.
Yeah, we realise that even though our steam trains are wonderful and we carry a huge amount of passengers, that just keeps enough money to keep ticking over. We built up a programme of special events which pays for the extra things and enables us to improve. We hold about between 20 and 30 events a year. Some are as big as this one we're at today, 1940s. Another one can just be the local schools all coming here for their country dancing festival.
Do you also do a Victorian Railway event as well?
Yes, we have a Victorian event once a year. We are graced by Her Majesty Queen Victoria, who comes and puts an appearance. Yes, the real one is dead, but we have a make-believe one. In fact, our Victorian weekend is 2 weeks today, and that's been operating for about 5 or 6 years.
So I guess it's not just the sort of heritage side of the railway, looking at the history of the railway and as it's developed through the years, but I guess you have to tap into more mainstream character events as well.
Yes, for a number of years we've had Thomas the Tank Engine event. This year we're deciding trying our a new event especially for us called Railway Folk, but of course every year Father Christmas has to come to greet all the children.
And is that quite special, just being able to go on a steam train and bump into the great man himself?
Oh, the children love it. We build a winter wonderland in one of our buildings, and then a little gnome comes and takes the family group in to see Father Christmas, and they get to spend 2 or 3 minutes with Father Christmas, and they just love it.
Oh, brilliant. And the railway is always developing, isn't it? It never stays still. There's always plans on the horizon and future projects. There's something just sort of happening at the moment, if you could tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we've just been given a huge grant from the National Lottery, and we're in the process of building a rolling stock storage facility which is actually called Changing Trains, where we'll be able to keep our unique carriages stored undercover in the winter months. It'll also have an interactive museum area and be able to keep historic wagons in. Apart from that, our rolling stock is kept out in the open all the year round.
So, am I right as well? If I've read this properly, you've got an award, quite an important award for the railway as well, with regard to the voluntary contributions.
Yes, we've got the Queen's Voluntary Award for Service, which was 4 of our members went up to receive it from the Queen last year. And it's a great honour to have that with so many volunteers and the time and the effort that our volunteers put into the railway here.
Do you know off the top of your head how many volunteers actually contribute to the running of keeping the steam railway operational?
We have a nucleus of about 200, 250 that regularly do operational duties here. We have members that come from far afield. We have one gentleman that travels in from Guernsey once a month.
Wow.
And obviously some from the mainland that come over, and obviously the Isle of Wight.
What kind of roles do they do on the railway?
Oh, they do anything. Some people just love to come and organise our steam show, which is once a year. You have some gentlemen who like to spend 1 day a week stood out in the baking sun on the platform helping people on and off. And of course, the top job for many people is to be on the footplate and driving the engine.
Is that a bit of a hierarchical system, going from shoveling coal to the actual engine driver, which I believe used to happen historically?
Yes. I was fortunate enough, my own father was a steam train driver, and he came out here, and but he was always telling people how it should be done.
Yeah. Well, it's such a beautiful, beautiful railway line. If you ever get the chance to come over to the Isle of Wight, one place you must head for is the Isle of Wight Steam Railway. And is it open 7 days a week?
In the main summer, we're open 7 days a week, sort of end of June through to September. But there are various days, and it's worth checking out the website to get the proper days. www.iwsteamrailway.co.uk.
Listen to the radio, Harry and Edna's Wireless Show. You heard it